Today's film is brought to you by the letter T, and it's That Was Then, This Is Now from 1985.
Like a friend once said to me, that was then, this is now.
So this is a fairly recent release from 2013 from Paramount. There's still no Blu-ray release of the movie, and this is a bare bones release with no supplemental material whatsoever. The visual and the audio presentation looks really good for the movie for its age, and considering it hasn't been given the preferential treatment, but it has its inserts still included here. That Was Then, This Is Now is another entry in the canon from author S.E. Hinton, who had previously written The Outsiders and Rumblefish. It stars Craig Sheffer as Brian and Emilio Estevez as Mark, who also wrote the screenplay for the film. It's about two friends. Mark is an orphan of sorts who goes to live with Brian and his mom after leaving his turbulent home life. The movie begins with the two of them on their way to school, and they miss the bus, but Mark has a form of his own transportation.
Let's move it, dude. What is this? It's a car, man.
At school, Curly Shepard runs the local gang that terrorizes the students. Brian is sweet on Kathy, played by Kim Delaney. The guys spend their nights cruising the Twin Cities. At the local bowling alley, Mark and Brian tease Eminem, who is Kathy's younger brother. And outside, Eminem is jumped by Curly and his gang, but Mark and Brian show up and chase the gang off. Morgan Freeman plays Charlie, who owns the neighborhood bar where the boys shoot pool. At the school dance, Brian sees his ex-girlfriend Angela, who's the sister of Curly, and she still has feelings for him, but her new guy doesn't like Brian. In the parking lot, Angela's guy challenges Brian to a fight. He does not want to create a scene in front of his girlfriend and walks away. Mark steps into the breach and is smacked across the head with a beer bottle. Oh! Brian's street instincts flood back to him, and he knocks the punk out. The movie shifts somewhat unevenly from jovial and playful moments to deep and somber scenes that just cannot quite develop the proper tone, or a tone at least that would resonate with the book.
When I'm with you in the parking lot tonight.
What do you mean?
I mean, you back down to that guy.
What was I supposed to do? You want me to smack the guy and start some kind of a brawl?
You would have a month ago. Are you worried it was going to ruin your date?
Yeah, well, it did anyway, didn't it?
The boys are shooting pool one night when they decide to hustle a couple of yokels from out of town for a few bucks on a game of 8-ball. As they leave the pool hall, the two hicks step out of the shadows and demand their money back. Charlie, anticipating the sore losers, pulls his shotgun on them, and when he turns his back, is shot by one of them, and he dies. Mark's reckless ways are starting to add up for Brian. On a night on the town, Mark gets caught up on some guys heckling him in the car behind them.
Talking to you.
All right, let's go. Where's...
Looks like the car needs a little work, huh?
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
All right.
How you doing? Good to see you. All right.
Oh!
Unamused, Kathy begins to drive a wedge between the two friends.
Why don't you grow up, man?
So I can be like you? No thanks.
Later, the guys run across Angela. They ply her with alcohol, and then, as revenge for getting Mark messed up during the melee at the dance, cuts off her hair and drops her off at her stoop drunk. Curly and his recently released brothers from jail counter Brian and beat him. The movie takes its darker turn when it's revealed that Kathy's younger brother is whacked out on drugs that Mark sold him, and that becomes the breaking point for Brian. Brian confronts Mark with the drugs and tells him to get out for good. Brian tries to stop Mark from taking the car, but he hits him and takes off. Mark gets chased by the cops for speeding, but he won't pull over. In trouble, Mark gets sent to jail, and Brian goes to visit him.
What's it like in here?
If I told you what it was like, you'd be sick.
The two go their separate ways. Brian misses the bus again, but as an homage to his hoodlum friend, takes a Porsche for a joyride. And that's pretty much the gist of the film. That Was Then, This Is Now is a mild offering from Hinton. It's been a while since I've read the paperback of it, but I remember there being a much different feel to it than what the movie evokes. The performances in the film are fine, and Estevez did a decent job in co-writing it, but I think the director fails at capturing some more of the darker essence that the book had, even though that the movie does have its brooding moments. And I tend to enjoy this movie on a more of a geographical front. It's filmed in the Twin Cities where I grew up, and it's great seeing a time capsule of the area from the 1980s compared to today, where everything has been sterilized and gentrified. The movie itself is really not that great. It's pretty mediocre, but as a point of personal interest due to the relative obscurity of it, I tend to enjoy it. I haven't read Hinton's text nor seen the movie of it, but The Outsiders and definitely Rumblefish are superior films compared to That Was Then, This Is Now.
There ain't no fucking rules.
That's all for this time. We'll see you next time when we go to the movies.